What up, dope homies? This is Dustin Coyle as promised. I tell you, I coming back, and I am coming back. This is Intelligent Thoughts, episode 27, UFC 210 preview or breakdown. We're going to call it the breakdown. This show is headlined by the light heavyweight championship between Daniel Cormier, Rumble Johnson. Going to be a pretty fucking awesome card. Let's get into it. Alrighty, and we're going to start right where we just spoke about. The light heavyweight championship somewhat. Not the lineal championship, but the lineal champion is still John Jones, and he still is the champion in my book. But as far as referencing and anything like that, the UFC light heavyweight champion is Daniel Cormier, and he is taking on Anthony Johnson in a rematch of a fight that took place about, a year and a half ago? Almost 2 years ago. Cormier's last fight was against Anderson Silva back at UFC 200 in July. Looked like the decisionator was getting booed. Still a great performance. I mean, Anderson Silva is one of the best of all time. Didn't really look like it in his most recent performance against Brunson, even though he got the win in that one. But I think that was a pretty damn good performance for Cormier against a dangerous striker, somebody that could win the fight with one shot. It reminded me somewhat a lot, or pretty similar to the first fight between Rumble and Cormier as well. The lay and pray method was used again. You know, he had to avoid some major shots by an even more, probably I guess you'd say, an even more dangerous striker in Rumble. And he weathered that storm. Great wrestling again, and ended up submitting him with a rear naked choke in the third round. Gustafsson again, same thing. He had to wrestle with Gustafsson to get the win. Gustafsson not as much of a knockout artist. He is really a knockout artist, though. People talk about how much power there is in his hands. People talk a lot about if you talk to the people that train with Gustafsson, you hear people talking all the time about how he's the hardest hitter in the gym, or one of the hardest hitters they've ever felt. I think he has underrated power there, but still traditionally not something you'd consider to be like a knockout artist the way that Rumble is or the way that Anderson is. But another good performance there. Cormier doing the Cormier thing with a lot of wrestling involved, heavy shots, dirty boxing on the inside. And so I mean that's pretty much why he's the champion. That's why he's 19-1 or 18-1 in MMA. His only loss was to Johnny Bones. Yeah, he's not necessarily the biggest guy either. He's only 5'11", 72.5-inch reach for the 205-pound division. Not necessarily huge. When you compare that with Rumble, even, who's not terrifyingly huge either. Well, actually, he is. He is pretty fucking huge. 6'2", 78-inch reach for him. So, I mean, he's 3 inches taller, 5.5 inches more on the reach. And obviously, there's the touch of death at the end of the right hand, at the end of the 78-inch or whatever right hand. This is going to be basically the most difficult matchup for Daniel Cormier, other than John Jones, that you could imagine. I think I don't think there's going to be anything more difficult of a matchup. An incredibly powerful striker, death touch type striker, who also has a decent wrestling background. I guess you could have somebody with a better wrestling background, but he's strong, can stuff takedowns for the most part, and very difficult to put on his back just because how strong he is. It's going to be an interesting fight here. The odds actually have Rumble as the favorite at -120. Cormier at +100, even odds for him. Anthony Johnson's last fight was back in August against Glover Teixeira, where Teixeira came out looking like a fucking zombie. Mike Tyson trying to do the head bob and just got lit the fuck up in 13 seconds. One punch KO. That's a great highlight if anybody wants to go back and watch that. And then in January of last year, he fought Ryan Bader, knocked him the fuck out in the first round as well. Ryan Bader, also tough as shit. Great win there. I mean, those are back-to-back top-notch wins for Anthony Johnson. And right before that, coming off of the loss to Cormier, he fought Jimmy Manuwa, who we all saw what he can do the other day or 2 weeks ago. Knocked him out in the second round. So that's sort of the streak going here, of course, for Rumble. And what do I expect to happen here? Basically, it all depends on whether or not Cormier can survive the tidal wave in probably the beginning of each round. But the first round specifically, the majority of the first round, there is a tidal wave of fury, which is Rumble's right motherfucking hand from hell. And that'll be, his hooks are good too, but really what it is, his straight right is just a vicious gangster. I mean, and let's not forget that he has great kickboxing skills too. His head kick is good. He's got a 3-inch size advantage on Daniel Cormier, and he has great head kicks. He's very fast, very fluid with those, and a great wrestling background. So, but needless to say, I guess the most likely way, if he's going to win the fight, it's going to be by planting the shit out of that foot, that right foot at least, and just delivering that haymaker of a fucking bomb and putting Danny to sleep. Cormier looked good. He looked slower in the first fight. He looked good, slower for sure. Right off the bat, he was he blocked a high kick that fucking probably moved him, knocked him back 2 or 3 feet. Barely blocking the end, or barely just missing, ducking out of the end of these fucking heavy punches from Rumble. Rumble looked damn good in the first one, ended up getting tired, basically, third round and whatever, he ended up getting tired. But I mean, that's what the king of the grind does, as Cormier calls himself. I would say John Jones is probably the king of the grind, but, Cormier after two rounds just kind of wears the shit out of you. It's not that Rumble, just got tired. It was that Cormier was riding him the whole fucking time, and burned him out and ended up getting that submission in the third. Oh, man. I think that Cormier is probably... Jesus, this is a tough one to pick. I think that Cormier will probably be the weapon of the storm for the most part. He'll probably have... let's see, it's going to be a 5-round fight. He'll probably... I think the same thing he's been doing, and in just about every single fight we've seen. Conventional knowledge would make you think that Rumble's probably the better fighter here, or just looking at him, explosive, more talented, more power, bigger. But that's the same. That's the case with everybody that Cormier's ever fought. Gustafsson is that case. Rumble before was that case. You know what I'm saying? Anderson Silva, not bigger, but significantly more talented. Cormier has just always seemed to have a way to beat people. I mean, the way he took down Josh Barnett, for example, just a vicious fucking takedown, almost a push to the throat and a trip, and just fucking took him down like a motherfucker. The only person to ever take Cormier down is Johnny Bones. I guess I see maybe like a 4 to a decision. Cormier is the new decisionator. Not really. I don't want to talk shit on him. Cormier is a great fighter. He's an incredible fighter, and I think, he's submitted Rumble the last time, and obviously he's trying to finish every time. But I see a decision, maybe like a 4 rounds to 1 decision in favor of Cormier. I don't really see Rumble winning a decision. I think if Rumble wins the fight, it's going to be a KO or a TKO. I think that if he wins a decision, it would probably be like a Tyron Woodley style from a couple of months ago, where he maybe has 2 big 10-8 rounds or something like that, and ends up winning the decisions like that, with just knocking the shit out of Cormier, and Cormier somehow weathers the storm to come back or something like that. But I think for the most part, Cormier is going to be proven to be the better grappler, the better wrestler in this fight, and I think that we're going to see a Cormier ground and pound show for the most part. Mixed with some heavy volume, and trying to knock out Cormier for sure in the first round. I mean, the first 3 minutes is going to be a banger. I expect 100% that Anthony Johnson is going to come out lightning in his fucking hands, trying to throwing knockout shots, not testing the water shots, not this and that. Truly trying to end the fight instantaneously, and there's a good shot to do so. If I had to pick though, I would pick Daniel Cormier. And I'm not gonna bet on the money line or any of that shit. I don't know. Too difficult. I'm not willing to waste my money on this one. But it's really difficult to pick against Cormier. 18-1, like I said, has only lost to John Jones. We've seen Rumble break. We saw Rumble get broken by Cormier, a year and a half ago. And I'm not certainly sure how much different either fighter is at this point. Cormier's 38 now. I mean, he's not getting any younger. And Johnson has definitely looked pretty damn awesome lately. But I just think that at the end of the day, championship rounds, if I have to put my stamp on anybody, it's going to be Daniel Cormier winning his belt back. All right, let's move on to the co-main event of the evening. So I didn't even say this is Buffalo, New York. I guess, what is it, the third or the fourth? It's the fourth New York show now for the UFC. The last one didn't go so well, so actually that could be that could be somewhat of a foreshadowing of any possible decision that we might see, especially like the Cormier Rumble decision. It's going to be interesting to see how the judging in New York State, at least, New York City was obviously the poorest, keeps up with, or if they can catch up with, what is going to be required for title fights. Obviously, they were that Derek Brunson Anderson Silva was a complete ridiculous. There's no way Anderson Silva won that fight. And so I don't know. We'll see. That actually kind of makes me trepidatious about this whole card a little bit. It's difficult to see what they score over other things, but we're just going to play it out like it was normal. The main event of the evening, ex-champ, New Yorker himself, Chris Weidman, number 4 in the middleweight division, taking on number 5, Gegard Mousasi. Should be a pretty excellent matchup. Mousasi actually the favorite, minus 132. Weidman at a plus 112. Mousasi coming off of that pretty sick TKO of Uriah Hall back in November. If anybody remembers that, he looked fucking fantastic. Uriah Hall, supremely athletic and just out kickboxing, looked fucking awesome. Powerful, man. Nobody really talks about Mousasi's power. They always just talk about how technically skilled he is. Dude's powerful as fuck. One of the best. He's very Cerrone-like as far as the combination of power and just technical kickboxing skill. I think he's actually better than Cerrone as far as that's concerned. I think he's a better kickboxer as far as the combination of skill and power are concerned. Just a month before he knocked out Uriah Hall, he knocked out Vitor Belfort with some punches. Literally in October, just a month before that. And just 3 months before that, he knocked out Thiago Santos in the first round with some punches. 22 knockouts in his career. 6'2", 76-inch reach. Basically the same. Weidman actually has a little bit of an advantage there. 6'2", 78-inch reach. Weidman back-to-back L's. That flying knee knockout from Yoel Romero was fucking vicious back in November. I'm sure we all remember that. He was actually winning the fight. I think probably 2-0 at that point. But and going into the third, he was just looking to secure a takedown to get the win. And as soon as he dropped levels, we see this a lot now in MMA or UFC. Talking about MVP or talking about this, for example. We've seen a few other ones. The flying knee, when people are ducking for a takedown, dump the flying knee into him and they get knocked the fuck out. Especially the MVP and the Yoel Romero. Those two were both highlight knockouts. Cyborg actually, his head broke. It crushed his skull. The MVP knee crushed Cyborg's skull, which was pretty fucking, that was massive. That was influential on Facebook. I saw so many people talking about that aren't even MMA fans. And that was pretty fucking incredible. But same thing happens to Weidman. And that was actually 11 months after his last fight, getting knocked out, losing his belt to Luke Rockhold in the 4th round there. That was a fight that he was probably winning as well when he throws some fucking stupid-ass back kick and then gets caught and fucking knocked the fuck out. That was pretty stupid on his part. More just a brain error. Right? Both of those fights he was winning. If it weren't for just basically 2 kind of random mistakes, he'd be an undefeated fighter still, and still the champion of the world. So, that's That's going to be quite a lot to think about here. He's coming in as the